Welcome to It Takes Heart. I'm Sam Miklos.
And I'm Kate Coomber.
We hope you enjoy these incredible stories of healthcare professionals making a difference in communities across Australia and beyond.
Through our conversations, we look to celebrate the spirit of community and care.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land who have long practiced and shared ancient methods of healing, providing care and support for their communities with wisdom passed down through generations.
Join us as we explore what it truly means to take heart.
Okay, welcome. We are so looking forward today to spending time with Ellen Rogers, who's been locuming with Cornerstone since March 2023. Ellen is currently on locum as the dentist in charge in Geraldton, Western Australia. She is loving the opportunities that she's having to give the community greater access to dental care. But what is particularly unique about Ellen's story is that she has been able to take her partner and her two young boys along with her on this adventure. Growing up on Bribie Island in Queensland, Ellen has wanted to be a dentist since she was 10, and her journey to where she is today has certainly taken many twists and turns. She spent 10 years in private practice, but lockdowns and a major foot injury brought a chance encounter with the Cornerstone dental team. The team helped Ellen coordinate placements where family and work could go hand in hand. What a great opportunity. The team and our clients describe Ellen as a passionate, dedicated dentist who will always do the right thing no matter what. And in recent placement in Geraldton, she has had such enormous value, not only to the health service, but the wider Geraldton community through a host of initiatives. Welcome, Ellen, to the It Takes Heart podcast.
Hi, Ellen, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. We're so excited to talk to you today. So I guess I'd really love to start understanding, what does life look like for you and your family living and working in Geraldton, having come from Bribie Island?
Surprisingly, being on the absolute opposite side of the country, it's really similar to what I grew up in. It's this lovely little town with such a small knit community, but just the environment is so welcoming. It's this beautiful beach town. It's always windy, like the wind doesn't stop, but that keeps it nice and cool. So people always say to me, but wasn't it like 50 degrees?
I was just about to say, don't you get like 50-degree days there?
But yet it's a dry heat. So having grown up in Queensland, we're used to really humid heat, which my partner hated. So he's loving the dry heat. We go down to the beach after work, which, because we're on the West Coast, the sun is setting a bit later. So we can have a swim in the afternoon. We can enjoy the park with the kids after work, have a walk, have a play. It's just such a nice, relaxing time with the kids.
Even to see the sunset.
On the weekends, we're getting to explore the rest of the country. So we've never been over this side. We've been able to drive up to Shark Bay, which apparently we shocked the locals because they were like, what do you mean you just drove up to Shark Bay? We're like, well, we wanted to have a swim. They're like, that's a 4-hour drive. You went for a swim?
That is so often the case. So the locums just go and have a go.
Yeah. We went to the Pinnacles. We've been to Kalbarri, which is this absolutely beautiful national park, and the iconic Pink Lake. So there's just so much to see. We've probably barely scratched the surface, but it's a beautiful little town and we are enjoying each and every day.
I think that's an interesting point too that people forget is, if you're going off on these locum opportunities, it's all the surrounding area that you can enjoy. And people say, what am I going to do on the weekends? But there's so much to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. On our previous trip in Rockhampton, some of the locums were like, oh, we don't need a car. We just stay home. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So we found them in our car and we took them out to Blackdown Tablelands. We found these rock pools and we're swimming in rock pools in June.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
It's Queensland, so it's fun. We're swimming in June. And it was such an amazing experience. And they were all like, we would have never done that if someone hadn't have thought to drag us along.
Yeah.
And Rockhampton's just off the coast. You've got your Poon. You've got the beaches. So it was just wonderful to go exploring every weekend.
So I guess let's go back to maybe March last year in 2023. You responded to an email from the team, I believe, expressing interest in locum work. I understand at the time it was a little bit challenging maybe for you and the family, maybe in a bit of a rut perhaps. I guess what prompted you to respond and maybe to look at those opportunities?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I probably had a lot of Cornerstone emails in my inbox.
Yeah, I saw. There was many.
I was like, oh no, like what? I'm in private practice. This is what I do, and I just was I was at this major crossroads. I'm so passionate about dentistry, but I didn't know how I was going to be able to keep that passion going. I could not see how I was going to be able to keep being a dentist with the way I was working. I was literally coming home and just wanting to lay there and do nothing. I was so at an absolute loss.
Ellen, was it the work in private practice or was it the hours? Like, what was it?
I think it was the private practice. I felt like my values weren't aligning with the work I was doing. Mm-hmm. That's probably the easiest way to put it. And at that point in time, I didn't know that I was autistic ADHD. And having that diagnosis now, I realized there is so much in being aligned with values and having that alignment in work and values just allows me so much more sort of ability to just get up and go each day. And when those values aren't aligned, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And meeting with Ruben and having that conversation, he actually listened to my needs in that moment. I felt heard. I felt heard, and he took the time to listen to what was causing me concern, and he found ways to accommodate those. So I said, I can't do this without the family.
Yeah.
He found me ways to do it with the family. And for people who know me, they know once I've sort of set my mind to it, I'll find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like within 8 weeks you were in Rockhampton. You were out of there within 8 weeks of that chat with Ruben and the team.
Yeah, you were there.
You were off to Rockhampton, now in Geraldton. I guess you just touched on there for the family of how did that work? I guess talk to us about that. How's it been possible to take your family with you?
Yes, I would probably say a little bit is a lot of it, is to do with the fact that I have an amazing partner. Mm-hmm. So since the start of the pandemic, he's been our stay-at-home dad. Mm-hmm. When COVID hit, I was pregnant with our second child. Mm-hmm. And when he was born, we both went, we really don't feel comfortable putting him straight into daycare.
Yeah.
My partner's contract had wrapped up in his role, and he didn't want to go back into the workforce. He's like, can I stay home with the kids? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please.
Yes, you can.
let me go back and you stay home. And so he took over the school runs, the day-to-day house running. He even ended up becoming the school PNC vice president.
Wow.
And was doing all this volunteer work. But I could see that he was getting burnt out.
Yeah.
The kids were really struggling with that day-to-day of going to school and just really getting worked up about being at school. And what we felt they needed was something different.
Yep.
Something that excited them about learning. And we thought with going on the road, we could do homeschool.
Yep.
So my partner we're both fairly well educated. We both have parents who have raised us well with lots of really wonderful opportunities. And we jumped on and looked at some homeschool programs. So within a few weeks, we had developed a curriculum for the boys. We'd applied to the homeschool board in Queensland at the time, because that's where we were, and it had been accepted. So we were able to pull them out of school, have them registered with homeschool, and there was this wonderful company called Homeschool in a Box.
Yep.
And they sent you all the things you needed
in a
for
box.
homeschool, literally in a box.
Wow.
So
I don't think people would think it was that
schooling
quick.
Curriculum written down, and then it was like, here's all the scissors, paper, books, pencils in a box. And off we went. But what I changed in terms of their lesson plan was, what can we do with where we're going? So we're like, okay, we're in Rockhampton for this first bit. Let's make the lessons about something to do with Rockhampton.
Wonderful.
So we went looking for thunder eds, and we would go out to the Capricorn Caves, and we would just try to make learning more interactive and more focused. So, and that, I think, is what really allowed us to take the kids with us, because it was about focusing on what was around us and what was with us as we went. We put everything in a little box trailer, and we got in the car and we went, what do we need? We don't need a lot. Kids don't need a giant house full of stuff.
Yeah.
They need some clothes. They need some toys. They need some parents that are paying attention to what they're doing.
Yep.
And that's what we took with us.
Have you found the accommodation going to those locations has been provided, and was it accessible?
Yeah, it has been. It's been wide and varied in the types of accommodations. We made sure that our phone plans were set up so that we've always had internet, even if it wasn't something that was provided at the accommodations. They've always had, cooking facilities. I have pretty severe food allergies. So even when we go, I already have my own basic pots and pans that I take, because even cooking with other pots and pans, I can get sick.
Yeah.
So that all comes with us. We've just got a standard little camping box that we pack. I actually even take a compressor, dental drills, and an entire dental dummy, because I take my study with me as a locum, which most people think is really strange, but it allows me to continue doing my training course while I'm on the road too, which that goes in the trailer with us, and it travels around the country, and I can do virtual classes while on the road. So we've had no issue. Our kids being young, they still want to share a bed.
Yeah.
So which works really well, because most places will have a double bed in the other room, and they happily share a room together. So we've had absolutely no issue with any of the accommodation that we've been given. It's been wonderful.
And what about when, because at Geraldton now the boys are in school, how did you get the boys into school, like coming from Rockhampton? Did you drive from Rockhampton to Geraldton with the car, the trailer?
So we had a few months back at our house in Queensland.
Yeah.
I was doing some private locum work, just back in private practice for a little bit.
Yep.
Where we were packing up the house, sorting out what we're doing. Because initially I was like, we're just going to Geraldton for a month.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. And we flew over to Geraldton, and we were here, and again, still homeschooling the boys, thinking it was just a short contract, but we enjoyed it so much that we went, well, we'll finish the contract, but how about we come back for the new year? And my partner goes, I'm really struggling with having them home all the time. Can the youngest start kindy?
Yeah.
And the youngest has never been in any form of anything. He's been a COVID lockdown baby.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah. Home for 4 years.
Yeah.
And my partner was like, it might be time to let him hang around other kids.
Yeah.
So we flew home the day before Christmas 2023. Christmas with the family, packed up the trailer, and I think we left the day after Boxing Day and spent 10 days driving across the country to come all the way back to Geraldton. And in that time, just before we left to get back to Queensland, I'd madly been emailing schools that we would fall in the catchment for.
Yep.
It was like, we will be in the area in the new year. Can we fill in a form? And they were like, oh, we close tomorrow. So I was like filling in paperwork.
Here's the form, here's the paperwork.
They were like, yes, you can have a spot. You're in the catchment. Come down in the new year. And it was actually quite an easy process because they were like, yeah, you fall in the catchment, you'll be here. They were very helpful. And so both boys now go to the local school that's about 2 blocks away from the house.
How amazing.
And some days they even walk to school. To be honest, it's the nicest school.
Wow.
Nicest, littlest, coziest little school I've ever seen. And the teachers are all trained in special education needs. We believe both our boys are on the spectrum. Take after me.
Yep.
And the teachers picked up on that straight away.
Yep.
I hadn't even shared my diagnosis with them, but they were like, any chance you've considered this with your boys?
Yep.
And I was like, okay, they're picking up stuff. But they don't exclude children with that. They don't put them in a different area and make them do different work. It's just part of everyone's learning. They accommodate everyone. And it was so nice to see that was just part of the curriculum. And they weren't treated differently. And they've had such a wonderful experience.
Tell us a little bit more about, I guess, the impact that experience has had on the family. You know, looking back now on what you've experienced, what's the impact been?
It's just been so amazing to have had this opportunity to be able to say, I've taken my kids out of school. I've taken them, I think last year we actually ended up taking them to 6 different states. We traveled 10,000 kilometres.
Wow.
Because some of that was we were just doing our own driving around, but we just love being able to show them this beautiful country that we live in.
Yeah, yeah. And do you
sitting at home?
It's so true. And there's been a lot of memorable moments. There's got to have been some challenging times too. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly. What has been hard about this journey?
Yes, there are definitely some challenges where if the rainy days and you're just stuck at home and the kids are running around like.
Yeah.
And it's loud and you just need a moment to chill out and your partner is going, I've been at home with them all day. Like, I need a break. I don't have any of my friends here. I want to go home.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you have to say, okay, now we've reached the limit of this contract.
Yeah.
We've time to go
Time's
home.
up. Yep.
Or it's just finding in that area ways to make sure you're still getting recharge time and recharge time for your kids and recharge time for your partner. It's just making sure everyone's needs are being met, and that certainly can be challenging when you're new to the area.
And you've probably prioritised the kids, right, and making sure that they're settled into schools of their community and that they can find happiness, because obviously our roles are all a lot more pleasant when they are happy and thriving. And I guess the next step potentially for you guys sounds like, what's then your circle look like and what's going to fill up your cup in those times?
So Ellen, let's talk about your career. What was it that inspired you to become a dentist in the first place?
Yes. As you said in your intro, I have wanted to be a dentist
forever.
Since I grew up with 2 parents in healthcare.
Yeah.
My mum was a dental therapist. She worked in the school vans in Queensland. And my dad was a critical care paramedic for the last part of his career, but prior to that, a fireman. Prior to that, a mines rescue. He's just always been in the sort of helping people fields. And I knew I wanted to do something that would be helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum would come home from work and tell me of the kids that were crying and the kids that were upset. And one particular story was this kid, she had to pull some teeth out on, and the mum being like, oh, why are their teeth rotten? I feed them those little bananas and I give them juice. And they didn't understand why their kids' teeth had broken down. Mum goes, what do you mean little bananas? She said, they come in the packet. They're really good price.
Oh.
She didn't realise that they were just lollies.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And unfortunately, the education around what to feed their kids and how to look after their teeth was just lacking.
Yeah.
It just hadn't gotten through. And I think I was, somewhere between 10 or 12 years old, and I went, these people don't understand. No one's taught them. And now their kids are scared and upset about going to the dentist. And I knew that I had loved going to the dentist. I'd even had teeth out and not been scared because of the way my parents had explained it to me and shown it to me. So I knew I wanted to create that experience for others. And so everything from high school onwards was, what can I do to make sure I get to be that person when I grow up? I think some of my high school teachers were probably a little bit scared. I had some cow teeth experiments for my high school. Some of them. One of them actually turned up to be a patient one day.
Oh, wow.
So they can't have been too scared, but
no.
Yes.
I love that.
Nicknamed Tooth Girl in high school.
What about though, Ellen, then, because you're in private practice, and I think that can be daunting for candidates to think, I might want to go and locum, but I'm not going to locum in private practice. How easy did you find that transition from private practice to then working in regional health services?
Yeah. I didn't find it difficult at all, but to be honest, growing up, I only thought I would ever work in public health.
Mm-hmm.
When I first graduated, I started in public health, but due to some really difficult life events soon after graduating, I really quickly transitioned into private practice.
Yep.
And found such a lovely little private clinic that I then kind of didn't leave again for 9 years. And where I then ended up, I was like, this isn't really where I envisioned my dental career.
Yep.
So it was more like I moved back into what I thought I would be working in. And so it didn't feel foreign to me to go back into. If anything, it felt more comfortable than where I had been. I felt more in my element and less like a fish out of water.
Where you were supposed to be.
And I guess there's that perception, that as a locum, you may not get, the career progression that you would have as a permanent employee, or you might not actually be able to have an impact on the community that you're working. But that's not been the case for you at all, and certainly not at the role that you're in at Geraldton. You're holding a leadership position. You've been able to introduce some big initiatives there. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact that you've been able to have locuming in these roles?
Yeah. And yes, I'd certainly agree that there is that perception that locums don't have an impact, or perhaps maybe aren't necessarily very good at what they do. They move around too much.
Yeah.
How can they have an impact? Whilst what I've always tried to do in coming into a place is make sure that I'm making sure that what I'm doing is the best I can for the patients while I'm there, that I'm speaking up if I see something that isn't necessarily being done to the best evidence, and not because I'm trying to say someone is doing something wrong. I just want to share what I know. So make sure that, anything that I might have learned over the years, I'm taking that time to share it with others.
Yep.
And then giving as much time as I can to those people while I'm there.
Yeah.
So if I have that opportunity to stay longer, I do my best to stay longer, because so often, especially in regional areas, they haven't had someone. So it's trying to stay longer and be consistent so that it's not chopping and changing all the time. So some of the things that I've been able to do really soon within starting, I was asked to be a supervisor of dental students. So really rapidly then I was then watching fifth-year dental students to help guide their learning and their training. And that sort of shocked me, because I did not think as a locum I would get that opportunity so quickly. And then what I noticed in one of those roles is you've got nitrous oxide equipment just sitting in a cupboard. Why is that not being used? Oh, no one here has training in that. I've got 10 years of training in that. Here's my certificates. Am I allowed to use it? You've got training in that? Yes, you're allowed to use that. And so within a few weeks, we had been able to start getting patients who had been sitting on a GA list that was non-existent because they didn't have anaesthetists at that hospital very regularly. And we could get anxious patients in who weren't being able to be treated because they were too scared, but we could get them nitrous oxide and we could get their dental work done.
That's
and
amazing.
Very suddenly those nitrous appointments were like 3 times a week.
I was going to say, I bet that became a busy list.
But then because people saw me using it, other people were like, wait, that's all you need to do to use nitrous? Oh, how do you do the training? I'm like, this is how you do the course. And it so rapidly became other people just going off and doing the training, and then more people know how to use it, and that equipment then gets utilized even after I'm gone.
Like it's your legacy that you've essentially
huge
left there.
Yeah. And then what that has led to is, I'm now in a leadership role. I'm managing an entire region. I've got any 1 week I'm across 4 or 5 different clinics, prison, and we've been able to develop a GA list over here that in an area that's not had a public dental GA list before. And the team here had already started developing it, but they didn't have a dentist to start implementing it. And so I've been able to get credentialed with the hospital. We've set up all the instrument packs, and then we started getting the patients through. And mostly it's children who have been so anxious and uncooperative because of their anxiety that they've been sort of left in limbo of, well, you could go to Perth, but that's really hard for people to just go to Perth.
And expensive as well.
By that point, their teeth have often gotten worse and they're in pain. And we do a list a month, but we're able to get more frequently as it's been growing, and it's just been an amazing opportunity to see this be developed and to be able to offer it to people, to be able to keep them closer to home and not have them travelling where we can. It's not for everyone because we're a regional hospital and they can't take every case, but it's just excellent that it exists for patients.
We were going to ask about the differences that you've seen and experienced between regional areas versus metro areas and what's available, and is there a real difference in dental care? And I guess you've just highlighted there some of the key differences of accessibility, but you've really already had that impact to make that more accessible.
Yeah, and there is a huge difference. There's often very few specialists that come out to the regional areas. And to be fair, there's often few specialists across the country in some fields.
Yeah.
In special needs, there's only, I believe, 25 special needs dentists in the whole country.
Wow.
I know there's more that are graduating, so the number's probably slightly more, but across that whole country, you can't expect to have one in each regional town.
Yeah.
So being able to help patients who have special healthcare needs in terms of being able to access a GA locally, or just being able to have connections and knowing who to call for a consult to help patients, so that if there is a way we can manage them locally, it helps improve their access to care. And that patients who might not have great mobility or access to travel still getting care, they're still getting seen. We're helping with their communication and their sensory needs and their coordination with their doctors, just being able to offer that because we've taken the time to do that training. Sometimes if you don't know, you don't know to offer it.
Yeah.
So
and I guess you've had that personal experience as well. It sounds like you talked there about your own diagnosis of autism and ADHD, I believe. I guess, how has that impacted you, if at all, professionally?
I feel like it was a light bulb moment for me, because for years I've always been passionate about helping anxious patients and felt like I could always pick up on the vibes, I guess, of patients, and could, without them saying anything, could tell they're not really feeling very comfortable right now. Or maybe someone would be quite aggressive, a counter or aggressive, but really it came down to that something wasn't being accommodated for them. Either they didn't understand something was bothering them, they were scared, they were uncomfortable. But I felt like I could sense it. And it always allowed me these opportunities to sit and talk with a patient, listen to a patient, and find a way to make them feel more comfortable. And then having that diagnosis, I went, this makes so much more sense. I am just picking up on things differently. I read the room differently to other people. I'm noticing things differently to other people. And it's not a bad thing. It's not anything in that way, but it's just allowed me to connect with patients differently. And it's made me think of problems from a different point of view. And I think it's really helped in my career because I've been able to connect with a lot of really, really generally what people call difficult patients, but they're not difficult. They're just not, people haven't realised that's what has been making them feel uncomfortable about coming to the dentist.
Just need to be understood.
Yeah. And I think that is what has made me feel so passionate about making sure I stay in dentistry. Like I have struggled with chronic pain, I've struggled with burnout, but I always want to come back. I think there was a point early in my career where I ended up in 2 hand braces because I had really severe tendonitis. And I'm still dragging myself into work to take it. And I would take the hand braces off and be like, no, I'm fine. I'll just keep working.
Nothing to see here.
And everyone's like, you need to rest. And that's probably one of the hardest parts is I'm not the best at listening to my body. And I've realized now with this diagnosis that that's the part that I struggle with is just actually listening to what my body needs. But the rest is like, that's why my brain is never quiet.
Yeah.
That's why there's always a spider web of thoughts going, what's happening with this? What's my next plan for that? Or like thinking of 10 million different things at once. It finally just makes sense that my whole life was just a lot of noise in my brain.
Sounds like a lot of clarity came from that for you to really understand and also where you need to be and what you need to be doing to get the best for you. Do you see that there's opportunities or what opportunities do you see to better support neurodiversity in dentistry?
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. I personally think there's actually a lot of dental professionals who are neurodivergent some way, whether that be autism, ADHD combination, or other types of neurodivergent. I feel like dentistry itself lends itself to autism and ADHD as a career, because it's both has this lovely routine to it, but this great new and different things every day. So I do my systematic thinking, but I never know what's going to come through the door. Friday afternoon, 3:00, I've got a facial trauma. Yeah. But let's follow the trauma guide and we'll splint their teeth. And thankfully they were okay. That was last Friday. I was here till 7. But it's also important then from an employer's perspective, making sure they're looking at work accommodations, like presentations, learning environments, meeting environments. Like, are we looking at learning and meetings in an accessible way? Are we providing information in accessible ways? Are we allowing people to work in ways that are beneficial for everyone? Are the work environments accessible? Dentistry has some pretty horrible environments, to be fair. Like, they have these bright overhead lights and these noisy drills. And that then leads into, what do we look after the patients? They're sitting there in the most vulnerable position, laying back, mouth open, bright lights in their eyes. Are we making sure we've got some dark glasses? Are we offering them something for their ears, or reminding them they can bring something for themselves, something to keep them comfortable? And then, as simple as looking at your own website and going, are we using our own pictures? Have we got photos of the team? Have we got photos of the clinic or a virtual tour so that people can jump on before they come in and get familiar with the environment? Have we got a map of where to park, how to find a front door? Maybe a letter that goes out to patients that says what to expect on your first visit, or little social stories that sort of explain this is what happens for a clean, and just little things like that can really make someone's experience with coming to visit you a little bit less daunting, because they have something in their mind already. Whereas if you've got this really generic website, it doesn't show any photos, it doesn't show what you look like or how to find you, someone who is neurodivergent probably isn't going to want to come there, because it's too unknown and it's too daunting, and they'll just find somewhere different, or they'll avoid it altogether.
Sounds like there's... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, because even in Geraldton, am I right that you have also created like a 5-page induction program as well, to make it easier for locums or anyone as such coming to the service?
So small adjustments, by the sounds of it, that have such huge impact on other people.
Yeah, I found it. I couldn't find the clinic on the first day. Yeah. I didn't know where it was. And so I was like, well, if I don't know where it was, how will other locums know where it is? And so I walked around and I took some photos and made some like Google Maps, the screenshots and links, and just wrote a little blurb and then said, am I allowed to send this out when we have a new staff member coming? And they were like, you made this? And I was like, oh, it's just a little something. But they were like, yes, please send that out.
That's amazing. Ellen,
all of our clinics are on school properties, so they're really hard to find. They're not like, you can't write into Google the address because it just puts up the school.
Right.
And so trying to find the therapy centres is a little bit confusing if you're new to town and you also don't know the schools or the area. So, yeah, I thought that would just be a bit more helpful.
It's amazing. Ellen, your experience is so unique and special. Actually, you are so unique and special. Like, just talking to you has just been amazing. If a working healthcare professional is listening to this podcast now and going, oh, do I do this? Do I take a sea change or a tree change? What would you say to them?
I'd say do it. Like, just
get in there.
Yeah, you don't know what tomorrow holds. Like, none of us know where we will be, we don't know how long we have. If you're thinking of doing it, if you want something different, if you're wanting to travel, just do it. You can't sit around saying, I'll do it when my kids graduate, I'll do it.
There's never a good time, is there?
Because we're not guaranteed that time.
Yeah.
We honestly don't know how long we have. And that was a really big factor in us deciding to just go and do something different.
Yeah. Look, we thank you so much for being so open, so candid, and really sharing your story. We're going to shine a light on a charity close to your heart today as well, and CMR are donating $500 to that charity. Can you tell us a little bit about what charity you've chosen and why?
Yeah, I've chosen the ADA Dental Health Foundation. They seek to improve the dental health of Australians. So they, especially ones who can't afford dental care, they work with pro bono dental treatment plans with dental volunteers through registered charities and not-for-profit agencies. So one of their programs in particular is called the Rebuilding Smiles program, which rebuilds smiles for patients affected by family and domestic violence. They fund these programs and encourage the better oral health outcomes to reduce inequality across Australia, as well as looking at programs to improve education within the community. So they do community service grants, First Nations study grants, and oral health education programs.
Oh
That's
God,
amazing.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to really hear about these organisations and charities that people may not have come across before, and to not only donate the money but really to highlight them and to share people to really raise that awareness. We thank you so much for sharing. Look, it's been so nice to talk to you, and I think that your story really is going to be an inspiration for others. I think there'll certainly be other people listening who may not be as open with themselves or others as you have been, and I think we really thank you for that, because I think the impact you can have more broadly across dentistry and the healthcare community, I think is huge. So thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to share, rate and review. This allows us to reach more people and share more incredible stories. Click the follow or subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode.